John Fisher, and one of the emergency district subs. I've been fortunate enough to work here at Tukwila for the past over almost 2 months now in the EL department as a para. However, one of the things that's really getting disturbing for me is I know we're short on subs. I'm constantly getting pulled to go work in the classroom instead of sitting there with the EL program. Last week, my students met one time, and that was only my first grade because of getting pulled. Now, I understand these trainings that I'm getting pulled for to cover are important. However, it doesn't seem like people are thinking about, hey, we only maybe have 30, 40 subs. We can't use all the subs at once in case somebody calls in sick. I mean, we're looking at our EL department. I mean, whenever I get pulled, my group cannot meet. We are limited to 600 pull-out spaces. Our office here can only maybe hold 12, unless if nothing goes wrong. I mean, it's really disturbing to me, because I mean, I'm an emergency contract sub working on trying to become a full sub, but whenever I'm sitting here getting pulled regularly, I know we got the SBAC coming up. And our EL kids can't read the SBAC questions as well as our regular kids. I mean, I can put it in type in 3 different sentences, and they'll have a hard time distinguishing, okay, type in here, type of soda, things like that. And it's just something I think we should be aware of. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Today I'm going to be speaking on behalf of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers here at Tukwila Elementary. We have been accused of not being able to change, but in fact, we really welcome change. We appreciate organized change that supports our children and change that makes us better at our craft. We have been told to give so many tests this year, so many. We have been told to give so many, it's hard to keep them all straight. We were told only days prior to administering the test. We welcome change that is organized and well thought out. Not chaotic, last-minute, constant change that has been asked to do. And in many cases, the tests do not benefit our children or the teachers. In November, we were asked to administer the beginning of the year math tests. In November, really? 3 months after the start of the school year. We would support change for a beginning of the year assessment in early September so that we can use the data from the test to drive our instruction. We are also for change in the decision-making process regarding which test is best for our students and our teachers. Our 7 through 11-year-olds were often given district-mandated tests that lasted up to 3 days. And unfortunately, in some cases, this stressed our kids out to the point where they've been crying in class. The amount of time it took for these tests for each teacher to grade was unrealistic. Classroom teachers need to be involved in decisions of what tests we use. Teachers also need proper training to understand how to recover the information of these tests. It was very hard to do. We were given a brief overview of how to administer some of these tests, but not how to collect the data once the students have been finished the tests. We were also for change of transfer of data from one grade level to the next. Simple to ask. Students are tested constantly, yet the data is not efficiently transferred from one grade level to the next. We have asked for the administration on numerous occasions for our current students' previous SBAC scores so that we can use the scores to create a comprehensive student profile. Yet we were never given the information. Each teacher should have the basic data from the year before in August, before the year starts. Teachers welcome change in many ways. We really do, especially here in Tukwila. Teachers should not be asked to be given data of the year assessment a third of the way into the school year, like in November. The district-mandated tests should be properly vetted prior to administering them. We need to be trained properly to give the information that we need from the test. We need data from the previous year to best serve our students. We are for a positive change that supports all students. Thank you.
So I'm here tonight to speak to the disrespect felt by many of us in the district, but maybe none more than our support staff. Ironically, it is classified Public School Employee Week, and there are few who work as hard as our classified staff yet feel slighted by this district. I will honestly say not one of them has asked for me to speak on their behalf. So you may ask why I would care a math interventionist here, because I see the support staff work day in and day out with all of our students in the building, before school greeting, cleaning, and delivering breakfast, during school, managing recess duty, heading up the cafeteria, working with students in small groups, and making sure all our students are cared for and safe. They are here after school to take students home in buses or work to prepare for the next day. Our classified staff is a constant support and consistent support for all our students here at Tukwila Elementary. So how does a paraeducator affect students? There are honestly too many ways to count, but I'll focus on one important way that I see every day in my position. The lack of one para can tip the scales for students dramatically. Our paraeducators work tirelessly to understand and deliver math and reading content in small groups to students without district support nor district professional development. They prepare materials and maintain records for data purposes, and they have little time to get from groups to recess to lunch duty, but still do it all for our students. Last year, Tukwila Elementary, at approximately 560 students strong, lost a paraeducator in March, one of 6 on the general education team. The school went through the interview process to hire a replacement, chose one, and then never heard anything except from the district that maybe next year the position will be filled. How do I know? I was on that panel to hire that replacement para. Here it is a year later, and we still don't have that paraeducator. The district has decided that funds for the district office may outweigh the salary and importance of an open paraeducator position, a job not even listed currently on the district website. Our ratio to paras to students went from 1 to 90 to 1 to 115. One para for 115 students. Another staggering fact is 40 plus low achieving students who by district initiative are to make growth are not receiving interventions in math or reading in 6 to 8 week cycle rotations. Since most after hours tutoring was taken away, in-school interventions are all students have to receive much needed math and reading assistance. So who's suffering? The paras? Maybe in the fact that they are overworked for the amount of students, but you will seldom hear them complain. Those suffering most are students. Less help for students, less supervision for students, less consistency for students. It's not about us, it is about those students. Our support staff cares more about students' well-being more than many sitting a mile away in an office building. I ask you to rethink how you spend taxpayer money to be sure it is in support in the best interest of our students. In my opinion, hiring classified staff should be on the district's short list of things to do. Thank you.
My family moved into Tukwila 20 years ago. We have been parents of children in the K-12 system for about 18 years. Since we have lived here, there have been at least 4 superintendents plus 2 interim ones, and we have directly experienced the impact of these choices on our family. From my point of view, Nancy Coogan has been the best superintendent hiring decision the board has made since we moved into Tukwila. You'll hear me speak about special education more than any other topics because it's where my family, my neighbors, and their children experience disruption, injustice, trauma, poor results due to prior administrations, and some of the district's teachers. These families witnessed and were subjected to neglect, gaslighting, retaliation, and intimidation. Our children were set up to fail and failed because they and their families did not receive the supports they were entitled to under the law. There is not one action I can point to by prior administrations that acknowledged or tried to move against the violation of the rights of children in special education. Prior to Nancy, there was no early intervention when it would have helped students the most. It was clear from the winking and nodding behavior of teachers that the district culture discouraged teachers from participating in the referral process for special education. The 504 IEP system was hyper-adversarial. The families were not worked with, nor was the process demystified for them ever. So the district would have the advantage and the power, and the families would have the blame. A teacher with intent did not accommodate our dyslexic daughter in the classroom because the teacher did not think accommodations were fair. She overruled doctors' evaluations, tested my child herself, declared my child not to be dyslexic because she, the teacher, had a master's in curriculum. We went through the chain of command, and no one, not the principal, not the administration, lifted a finger against these violations. My little girl was never at the heart of the decision making, and without accommodation she fell behind, was repeatedly humiliated in front of her peers and made to feel stupid and lazy in the classroom. My little girl, now in college, was told that it was good that we were pulling her from the district because she was too stupid for the school. She was in 2nd or 3rd grade at the time. This did not just happen to our family, it happened to others in my neighborhood. Their children were harassed, disciplined, and suspended instead of being evaluated and given the supports that they needed. Parents in my neighborhood knew that to complain about special education was risky. More than one family had CPS called on them. One parent even had the police called on them in the district office. Shortly before the previous special education director left, one parent, who's an immigrant, told me that she was intimidated during an IEP meeting at Showalter by the staff when a team representing themselves as security were called in because she was expressing serious concerns. She wanted to know what she had done wrong. The special education audit that was called by Nancy affirmed that the families and children were experiencing extreme dysfunction in the district. Subsequently, a new education director was hired and deficiencies finally began to be addressed. While there is a way to go, the district now admits that it can be wrong, acknowledges that children and families have rights, provides some level of support, and the teachers are being guided and trained better than they were prior to this. They are permitted to do the right thing. I attribute these changes to a new leadership culture under Nancy and supported by this board. Prior to the current superintendent, children were simply not the heart of decision making. If things went right, it was because of a principal or teacher who made efforts in spite of the administration, not because of them. Though I have been recently frustrated by the turnover of some strong special education teachers and administrative advocates due to the lower than predicted enrollment, I haven't seen any evidence that the circumstances the district is in is completely the failure of the superintendent. As long as I see progress on the challenging front of special education and no evidence of mismanagement from Nancy and this board, you and she will have my support.
Parking. Probably everybody is parked either in the lot or hopefully legally up and down the 2 streets that are near our school. I have been following the bond progress website very, very closely and was super pumped to see this drawing. This is a rendering of what our new proposed staff parking lot is going to be looking like pretty soon. It adds 34 parking stalls behind our current bus lane. And according to the bond progress sheet, it looks like it's kind of a soft guideline that it's supposed to be starting, I assume, planning stages here in May of this year. Our parking situation is pretty dire. We've got some major safety issues. We've had 2 children get actually hit by cars in our parking lot over the past 2 years. There is just not enough space for our school population in the parking lot. We've gotten to the point where several of our neighbors are very angry with us because there are only 2 streets where you can access the school via parking. One side of the street has no sidewalks, so it's unsafe for students to park on that side of the street. The other side that has sidewalks it's punctuated with mailboxes, with driveways. Now, we try to follow the rules as best we can, 3 feet on either side of a mailbox, 5 feet away from a driveway. It leaves us with 6 parking spots on both of those streets on that side that are safe, accessible for kids, and that follow the Tukwila City Code for parking. So I am asking that when you guys are looking at bundling your construction projects, I realize that you guys are trying to bundle things to get competitive bids from contractors. I would just ask that you consider moving our parking situation up as much as you possibly can because it's a safety situation for our students. It's drives me insane, but I guess that's not all that much reason. But it's also an inconvenience and a frustration for our neighboring homes, and we want to be responsible.
Okay, thank you.
Town Fredolino.
and I've been a kindergarten teacher here at Tukwila Elementary for the past 9 years. I am not a public speaker, and being up here is absolutely terrifying, but I feel compelled to speak on behalf of my students, who I refer to as my kids because that's what they are to me. Children trusted into my care, and who I care deeply for, not just on a professional level, but a personal one. Teaching is a difficult and challenging profession, but one that I absolutely love. I knew from the moment I walked into Tukwila Elementary that this was where I wanted to work. I have not been disappointed by Tukwila Elementary. I work with incredibly caring coworkers, teach amazing students, and have established wonderful relationships with families over the past 9 years. I deeply respect my colleagues who I continue to see go above and beyond for students, particularly in our current environment where teaching staff are being asked to do more with less. We have been charged with accelerating student growth and closing the achievement gap, a charge teachers fully and wholeheartedly embrace, but a charge given to us without support from district administration, rendering it very difficult to achieve. Our students have no ELA curriculum, and we lack common district assessments or report cards to effectively communicate with families. These are materials and support that we have been asking for 3 years. Aligned curriculum, assessments, and report cards are an educational basic. Because our students, my kids, do not have this basic education support due to district administrative decisions, they are not getting the education they need and deserve. While I am surrounded here at Tukwila Elementary by a teaching staff that works incredibly hard to fill this gap by creating or finding their own curriculum and assessments to use at the cost of evenings and weekends away from our own families, it is not enough for the systemic fundamentals that are lacking. Given the current level of respect for teaching, it does not surprise me that we are hemorrhaging teachers who can easily find jobs in surrounding districts, but it saddens me, not just for myself, but for our students who need and deserve to have the best teachers. Staff have been clearly articulating our needs to district administration over the past 3 years, and we have little to show for it. It is demoralizing and disheartening, and a very difficult way to feel when you're responsible for shaping the future of America. I want to be clear that current staff discomfort is not about organizational change, a process Tukwila School District has been in since I arrived 9 years ago. Again, I am surrounded by teachers who constantly embrace learning about how to improve their practice to maximize their students' learning, whether it's attending GLAD training or learning about new technology to use in the classroom. The current state of education in our district is the result of misplaced budget priorities, an ongoing lack of clear and cohesive alignment, and teacher input being routinely neglected. So here we are in a place where teachers feel that we are not supported and cannot trust the current administration. I and my colleagues will continue to do everything in our power to provide the education that our students deserve. I can only imagine the impact we could have on our students with an aligned and supportive administration.
I'm up here speaking on behalf of the second grade team. Historically, Tukwila Elementary is not a staff known for digging our heels in and refusing to change. As a matter of fact, we welcome good and positive change that can affect our students in a positive manner. We continuously seek out opportunities for professional development. For example, attending REACH Associates trainings, GLAD trainings, technology trainings, and STEM trainings. Trainings that teachers sacrifice personal time attending. We welcome change. The lack of a copy center does directly affect our students and their families. With no copy center available, we are losing planning time that used to be directed towards differentiating instruction, parent contact time, and collaborative work with our peers. Would you rather your child's teacher stand behind a copy machine or develop lessons that meet the individual needs of your child? Would you rather your child's teacher spend their time hunting down paper, an available copy machine, sending help desk tickets for copy issues, or prepping a GLAD unit that supports all students, collaborating with a math and or reading specialist to improve their teaching, or calling you to keep you informed of your child's progress? While we know we are lucky and very grateful to have a Chromebook for each student and understand the push for digital learning, they still need to know how to read, write, add, and subtract. These foundational skills cannot be taught exclusively on a computer. Students need access and practice with paper, pencil, manipulatives, crayons, scissors, and glue, all of which take copies, all of which take time that without a copy center, we are having a hard time finding. Tukwila teachers have been asking for roughly 6 to 7 years for an online, Common Core aligned, and a less time-consuming report card. This process was started around 2014, but nothing ever developed because of the turnover at the district administration building and lack of follow-through and communication. As classroom teachers, we are expected to teach and assess the Common Core standards. But when curriculum and report cards don't match up, with communication with parents is negatively impacted, and the continuity across the district at the elementary level is put into question. Two areas that affect our students the most are the loss of before and after school tutoring programs and the loss of paraeducators that work with some of our neediest students. Not only have we lost paras, but there has been no attempt to hire, even as our enrollment at Tukwila Elementary grows. Where is the person who was running the copy center? Was this person reassigned to work with students to help with the loss of our paraeducators? No, this person works with the Accountability Assessment and Technology Department. Finally, with tutoring programs cut, students don't have access to the additional support they need to make 1.5 years growth per the Tukwila School District's strategic plan. These are just a few of the reasons there was a vote of no confidence. Please inform us of what change we are resisting.
Last 3 years, teachers here at Tukwila Elementary have taught without a Common Core aligned literacy curriculum. Although we have asked many times and been promised many times, we still do not have a curriculum as of today. This impacts our students and our teachers in many ways. First, a strong academic curriculum is the breadth and depth of what we as educators cover in class. It helps us present our content material in a logical order. And over the past 3 years, teachers have piecemealed together a curriculum that may or may not be delivered in the same order as their colleagues. Consequently, there's no cohesiveness, and as a result, we have curriculum chaos. And this leads to students missing important details, and if a student changes school, they could be lost. And in a district as diverse as ours, we cannot afford to miss any details or lose any students. A brand new teacher in our district is at an even more disadvantage because not only is everything new, but she or he is faced with the same responsibilities as their experienced colleagues of coming up with a curriculum. And on top of this, a teacher needs to show up 1 to 2 hours before school or stay after because we have to make our own copies. And this can take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours sometimes, particularly if someone is using the printer or the printer is not working. And some days it may take 30 to 40 minutes just to find a working printer. And then, if it is your lucky day, you might be able to find white copy paper. Or else, your report cards will just have to go home on pink paper. So we are asking that you please listen to us. We are responsible, caring professionals who wouldn't be in this district if we weren't. Just please listen to us. Thank you.
The standards are being put in the grade book now, thanks to the wonderful elementary teachers who are helping with that. The math standards will be put into the electronic grade book on March 24th. We have put that in writing as well, and thanks to those who are helping us, elementary teachers. But probably a lot in this room haven't heard about it, so I wanted to make sure they do. Far as the K-5 literacy, that's being piloted this year, and the purchase will come to you in June because we are following that process. So just wanted to make sure, in case we want to shorten this, about the K-5 literacy and the grade. By the TEA union president that was received on Friday to ask us to look over that. Our agenda is already set tomorrow at the cabinet meeting to look over the proposal. What you will find in the proposal is some recommendations from the TEA that I believe can be resolved tomorrow because they seem all reasonable to me, but I will be taking that formal proposal to cabinet tomorrow.
Okay, and I just want to say, we're really working toward, I don't know, this place where we can all coexist, where your voice is heard, where changes can be made, adjustments can be made, and really in the best interest, to do what's in the best interest of the kids, and to do what's in the best interest of allowing you to do the work that we know you need to do. So keep talking. Right? Keep talking.
Yes,
We're listening.
I actually like that they're talking. One teacher came to my office in early February and told me about the great book. I have not been here the past 3 years. And within 2 weeks, I called those who met the company that manages Skyward. They came right out to cabinet. And March 24th, they are putting the entire standards there for the math. I think that's pretty good to have found out about that at the beginning of February, and we're moving on it. I know we had a lot of turnover, but many people who are new to the district do not know what happens in the past. But as soon as we know, we work on it. As soon as I found out about the adoption of curriculum, wasn't there in the budget, I just heard about it and put a placeholder myself to give the district an opportunity to look at K-5 literacy. So I believe we are moving on it. We will continue to move on it. I understand it. I am a K-12 certified teacher myself, so I understand what goes in the classroom.
Dear members of the school board, someone once told me that kids who grow up in low-income houses start off 10 steps behind everyone else, and it's our job as educators to teach them how to sprint forward and overcome all the hurdles that life would throw at them. But it's hard to teach a student to sprint when you're running into walls. Last year, I became the 5th first-grade teacher in this building. I walked into my classroom and I was missing chunks of our reading and math curriculum and was handed an outdated writing curriculum in the beginning of the school year was just 2 weeks away. I communicated my concerns to district leadership. They asked what was needed and I was told they would get right on it. 2 weeks passed and nothing. The school year had begun. Somehow the assistant principal got word and began trying to get me the materials that I needed. But he kept running into walls too. It was one thing after another. We need a copyright year. Then that wasn't enough. We need a picture. And so on and so on. Eventually he left to pursue bigger and better things, and no one was there to fight for me and my kids. I still don't have those missing materials to this day. I couldn't say what went wrong because I was never in the loop of communication. All I know is that somewhere along the line it broke down, and who was left to suffer? My students. I stand with this Tukwila School District staff who voted no confidence. Thank you.
I'm also a community member. I'm speaking on behalf of the Tukwila Elementary Special Education Department. I will not pretend to have knowledge of how money is allocated to various budgets, and I will do my best not to spread misinformation. According to the NEA website, ever since IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Act, the federal law has included a commitment to pay 40% of the average per student cost for special education student. The current average student cost is $7,500 federally, and the average cost per special education student is an additional $9,400 per student in the district, or $17,000 altogether per student. Collectively, the special education program should be receiving a minimum of around $7,500 in federal funds for each student in the program across the district, which there are many of, with the district helping to support the remaining, ideally 60%, to fully cover students and programs. This money is used to pay for staff and for curriculum and basic care for our students in self-contained resource rooms, behavior programs, and occasionally outside placements of students when Tukwila's programs aren't successful in satisfying that child's needs. With such a large demand for needed resources and money, we are frustrated at the lack of funding the special education department as a whole receives here. It is disheartening that before school started, we heard that our programs were over budget and that our programs may need to take cuts even in basic necessities to our students, including staffing cuts at minimum. Due to Dr. King's assistance, he located money extra money in other budgets to cover the costs the budget lacked, so we did not take a full hit to our programs and students. We are concerned that our special education director has to justify how many paraeducators are within the program as a necessary expenditure to support our students in the budget numbers each year. When compared to schools similar to ours, our staffing to student ratio is still quite low. We are concerned that even after providing a mountain of data to show our programs need more support to individual students, we are not receiving more assistance due to budget restrictions. Our one-on-one paraeducators are counted into our classroom staff numbers, so our ratios look better than they are. But when a student has high enough needs to receive an adult to themselves, caring for multiple students burns out our staff and is not a method shared by surrounding districts as staff to student ratios. When looking into training for teachers and staff for professional development, special education teachers require specialized training that can't always be satisfied within the Tukwila schools. But we need to pay out of pocket to attend our district trainings and may still be rejected due to the cost of substitute coverage, again, a budget restriction. In short, the budgetary restrictions to our department does not seem to be funded to a point of reaching all of our staff and students to the best of our district's ability. This has cost us student resources, lack of training to staff, both teachers and paraprofessionals alike, and a minimal amount of staffing within our programs. This directly hurts the education of our highest need learners and is one of the main reasons behind the high turnover rates in our special education department.
Can I ask a clarifying question? The numbers that you mentioned, was that calculated at the 40? Is that what we're actually getting, or is that what?
So the 7,500 federally is the average based on the NEA's website.
Okay. They were supposed to do 40% 40 years ago when this law came in, but right now they're only at about 17% of that commitment.
So we're running on 17% essentially.
That's why I wanted to make sure, I wanted to ask you what they're saying coming in, because that commitment has not been fulfilled, and because it is a mandate, we have to fill in the gaps of what that 40% is supposed to be, that is not, and that comes out of levy dollars. So I'm not trying to make excuses, I just want to make sure it's clear that we are not getting, and we completely agree with you, that's why they made a commitment, and we're supposed to be getting that money, and we're not.
We understand that, we do it all the time.
Yes, thank you so much for clarifying that. So hello, my name is Teresa Scott, and I teach one of our self-contained special education programs here at Tukwila Elementary. I am here to share how my teaching is impacted by administration level building decisions at the school building level. The budget restrictions of our SPED program due to limited funds is compounded by overcrowding here at Tukwila Elementary daily. According to IDEA and the least restrictive environment, LRE, my students are to be attending general education classrooms so many minutes each day, which is a number calculated by their IEP or individualized education plan. This has been difficult with crowded classrooms and continues to be so with so few staff members to program and overcrowding. My students often require a lot of assistance to be successful in any environment, particularly in a program in which they don't have a routine consistently. But I do have a few who have the ability to participate in a classroom independently with light support from gen ed teachers or peers. That small group of students happen to land in the 4th grade, who have been on case overload since the beginning of the year in each class. This impacts my classroom and the rights of my students. My students do not technically have a spot in a general education classroom. This means teachers don't have my students' attendance in their class with a reserved spot only for them. So when the class is full and I send a student in unassisted, I am sending a student whose teacher does not have my student counted into their classroom caseload. This is a contract violation if that student goes over their caseload number, and it is only alleviated if I send students with a paraeducator. This creates a problem in which my students cannot attend their general education class unless they have a para present, even if they are independent. For these couple of students that do not need a para to participate, I am forced to choose between the instruction of my students in the self-contained program and the instruction of students in their general education class, as they are guaranteed by law. Sending these independent students with a paraeducator costs other students instruction and support in my special education program, just to accommodate overcrowding and contractual complications. Adapting my schedule to meet the needs of other classrooms not on the overload has been relatively doable, but my 4th grade students continue to suffer meeting their legal minutes because I am forced to keep the needs of my classroom met first due to ensure the safety of all of my students and their needs. I hope my voice will bring light to an overlooked area of this school district and start a process to create change, no matter how small, with assistance from the administration level. I strongly suggest our administration look at budgets and take into account the needs of students and staff, not just the basic needs of a program, and adjust budgets to adequately support all of our students to be successful. If we are expected to accept change, I would like to see some positive change that benefits children and their instruction, in addition to resources available to our staff and our community for all of our scholars. So if I don't send a student with a para to alleviate, basically that they're providing instruction to a student that they would have to differentiate for, and they're already overburdened trying to differentiate for their entire classroom that is more than average. And it's hard to meet that need when I have to sacrifice the students that are in my classroom who are nonverbal or in a wheelchair or run from teachers or are just learning how to toilet themselves. And so that is frustrating that I can't get them what they need because I need to keep the needs met in my classroom first.
And so just as a follow-up, so in terms of filing a complaint or bringing it to someone's attention, what's the process? Do you go to a principal and say, hey, look, I'm having some issues.
Yes.
I need this, and then he comes to the administration? Just do you understand what that process is? And I'm looking for how we solve this issue.
I have asked for more support. I even asked to see if we could get a paraeducator, another just half-day one, to cover our lunch times so that I can send students out more just to accommodate that more. And it went to HR, and I think that's the last I heard of it. There's no process to currently prove that I need more like data-driven, because I can take all the data I want, but right now it feels like there's a standstill, and it's out of my principal's hands.
That's something we need to look into. Also, just as a thought, we're in the process of working on the budget for the next year, the next 2 years. I think we're talking about blue sheets. So whatever your needs are, I believe.
Sure. Right now, for the 16-17 year, for special ed state, we spend, the expense is that we pay for is $3.5 million, and our revenue was 2.1, but the district picks up the costs. For the federal level, the budget what we received from the feds, $645,000, and the expenses are $548,000. So the district is supplementing the budget for about $1.4 million. Okay, but what you're saying is that's still not enough. Okay, but I just wanted to tell you that it's a huge difference with what we get, and it's a lot that the district is supplementing with an additional $145,000 for special ed infants and toddlers. So adding that together, that's over $4 million to just be getting about 2.6.
But as we move forward, though, if you have to, and I'm not saying you don't, right? And this is for all teachers, I think, and all administrators. You have to state your need so that we can deal with it in the budget process as we're moving forward for the next couple of years.
And I will tell you, I'll speak up for the director of special ed, because I know I just signed for more paras for special ed, and that came near the end of February, and that is already signed. So in addition to what you have here, we just signed for some, I just signed for some additional paras as well. But it is out there, and with special ed, they have different needs each year, and the law says we must accommodate them.
Yes.
So am I correct in hearing you too that part of this issue is you're dealing with, you said fourth grade? and the fourth grades in this district this year are full up
Are
to the
full.
max.
And
to their
I
contract
don't-
limits, and so putting another
Beyond,
student
they're
in
beyond.
there, and you wouldn't know that until basically the beginning of the school year when, or, you know, whenever the class sizes are set, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
so
I
that's-
had hoped we would hire a fourth grade teacher even
Yeah.
a couple weeks in, and it did not happen, and so my students can't go into that classroom.
Right.
Or they can, but I would have to have a body with them to
Right.
assist them, because that teacher's already reached their limit.
So you need some flexibility, in this budget, which is, yeah.
It's up for, there's a lot of problems, but I just wanted to bring attention to it, because right now it's kind of skated over, and I don't think it's intentional. It's just a very small population.
It's been self-contained for 21 years here. We stated our needs every year for numerous years. I got out of bed 2 years ago because I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the stress anymore. You know, I'm getting older. It happens. But we have, and I'm not putting this on current administration, but, well, I am also putting it on current administration because for many years, we have stated our needs. Steve has done the best he could to help us. He went further on, and we got nothing. We were always told, it's not in the budget. It's not in the budget. I can remember a time, 2 paraeducators, 1 teacher, and 23 kids. That was like, how many years ago? Okay, so it's not that we're not speaking our needs or making our requests known. We are, they are. We're not being heard. We feel like we're not being heard. A couple of things that were just communicated is another thing. The lack of communication. Do we know what happened at the beginning of February? Do we know what happened in the middle of February, the end of February? Were we told? Were any of us told that there's trying to be a grade book, there's trying to be help with the copy center? Was that communicated? That's one of our biggest complaints, is the lack of communication. I'm sorry, I know you're not supposed to stand up and.
We really need to get through this.
I understand that, it was just, I'm sorry, but when you said we need to communicate, it just kind of struck a.
Yeah, part of communication is getting it to the right people.
And
sometimes that
we've
just
tried
doesn't
for
happen,
years.
and we know that.
Thank you.
This year as a first grade teacher. During my interviews last spring, I was specifically reassured that I would have a mentor either in the building or assigned by the district. Thus, I began my year with expecting a mentoring program that I would learn from and help me grow as an educator. I quickly realized that the mentor program I was looking forward to was not happening. The first 2 workshops were canceled. My first communication about the mentor program did not happen until November. Since November, there has been a disconnect in communication. Many emails go unanswered, or I receive emails requesting things like observation times that do not work in my daily schedule with little time to prepare. Due to the lack of communication, I feel like I have not been a part of a trusting, supportive relationship that was intended for this program. As a first-year teacher, I'm experiencing a season of change and having a solid mentor program that would have helped build my skills and given me tools to better address all of my students' needs without curriculum. It would have been beneficial to help not just me, but also my students. I believe after this year that this program needs emphasis at the beginning of the year to build a trusting, proactive, working relationship between new hires and the mentoring program.
I'm Opie. I teach first grade here at Tukwila Elementary. I teach first grade because I believe in the importance of teaching foundational skills, such as basic literacy and mathematics. I teach in Tukwila because, simply put, I love my students. I love my families. Last year was my first year teaching here, and there was an open ELA coach position, and I was looking forward to when that would be filled so that I could improve my practice through coaching, which is a really positive experience I had at another district. A profound experience I had where I improved so much as a teacher, my students made reading growth akin to or more than the 1.5 years growth I hear talked about in Tukwila School District due to having a coach. Instead of having a coach at the end of the year, the coaching positions in Tukwila School District were eliminated, making me question as a new teacher, well, I need to go to another district to find the support I need to become the best teacher that I can be. Last year, I did not have a writing curriculum. There wasn't a writing curriculum anywhere in the elementary schools. Imagine the impact on our students. They didn't learn as much as they could have or should have. We're professionals, so we got together. We got resources, we created resources, we shared resources. My students did learn, but not with the rigor necessary to put them on a path to be career and college ready by graduation. Also, they lose the power, like Regina was talking about, of building on last year's curriculum and working towards next year's curriculum. This year, I have a writing curriculum. Over the summer, I created a Donors Choose project, which funded a first grade Lucy Calkins Writers Workshop curriculum. So this year, my students are thriving. Currently, they're creating chapter books that can teach you all they know about gymnastics, math, bones, butterflies, horses, video games, the Family Fun Center, dwarf planets, and other topics. I find it shameful. I had to find funding outside of the school district in order to adequately provide my first graders with the basic need of learning how to write. I stand with the Tukwila School District staff who voted no confidence.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, guys. Stand up
Brief and concise. I think we had a lot of information tonight in the room, and I'm sure there will be some communication back on those things. So with that, we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded.